Hi everybody, it's AC Mims here, and I decided to record a new video today talking about why self-care is such a life and death issue for me. I grew up in a family with very modest means. I actually grew up in a poor family, and I was the eldest of 5 kids. And one of the things that was really unique about my family is that even though we really didn't have a lot for ourselves, we always helped take care of everyone else in the neighborhood, whether it were the children that my father coached or people who didn't have whatever for their own kids. My family was always very, very giving. And while that was a beautiful lesson to learn, and I always grew up believing in service, it also came with some detriments to that as well. I didn't know boundaries growing up. I always had to share every single thing that I had, and I never was allowed to say no. And that created a lot of relationship issues for me later on down the road. As I entered my first relationships, intimate relationships, I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know how to tell people no. I didn't know how to exercise self-care. And I really thought that to be in a relationship meant to give everything: money, resources, too much understanding when someone didn't earn that benefit of the doubt. And I had several relationships where I didn't have a true sense of self. And that carried on into my own marriage as well. I didn't have the skills to know how to say no or to know what was important to me. And I really believed that if I was a good person, whatever that meant, then the other person would take care of myself. And I thought that if I, had the right career and had the marriage and had the family, then I would be fulfilled and I would be cared for. And really, in retrospect, what I realized is that my lack of self-care put a huge strain on my marriage and huge strain on my relationship. And while I know a relationship is, two different people being there and they ultimately contribute to the success or the demise, I can take ownership for the parts that I had in it and had in our relationship demise. I really thought that if I did all of the right things, then my partner would take care of me emotionally. And I thought that that was their job to make me feel good about myself. And it really led to a lot of resentment on both of our ends. Resentment for my partner because she didn't make me feel as I thought that she should. I didn't feel whole. I didn't feel happy. And I thought that was her job. And then also resentment on her end that I put such an enormous burden on her. And it created a huge divide. At the same time, during my relationship, I really ran my body in the ground. You guys who've been following me for a while know that I struggled with the infertility. So all of those treatments, and if you've never been through infertility or ever knew anyone that did, I'm talking daily doctor visits, an exorbitant amount of money, tens of thousands of cash, dollars, injections all day, every day, just the emotional strain. On top of that, I had very demanding jobs where I was working 50, 60 hours a week. I had a newborn. I was in grad school. And then on top of that, I also suffered several pregnancy losses. So those experiences just pushed my body and pushed my mind and pushed my heart to the limits that no person should ever have to experience in their life. And I finally got to the point where I knew that my life could not continue this way. I knew that no matter how much I loved my family and I loved my wife, that this was no longer working. I could not sustain this level of burnout in a way that was healthy for either myself or for my wife or for my child. And I decided to get a divorce. And so I know many of you probably been figuring out, what happened, who was the one that asked for it or who initiated it. And it was me. And I initiated the divorce not because I hated my wife, but I didn't want to get to that place where I did hate her. And I knew our life wasn't healthy, and I didn't want that to be the model that my daughter grew up seeing. And so I asked for out. And as painful as it was, the divorce really allowed me an opportunity to be still. For the first time, I wasn't going home to take care of someone else and take care of a child and take care of a wife. And it allowed me to really be thoughtful about how did I get to this place where I'm completely burnt out and my body is falling apart and my mind and my heart are falling apart. And through that time, it also allowed me to rebuild. And as I started to rebuild my own life, I started with just the very basics of taking care of myself, eating right, reducing stress. And the first sign that I had that my self-care was working is when all of a sudden these allergies that I thought I've had, or food intolerances I've had for several years, started to go away. I remember the first time I ate a piece of eggplant and my mouth was not inflamed and breaking out in blisters. And I realized that something different was happening in my body. And when I started to really take care of myself, I not only did my body change, but my life began to change. I started to attract people in it that were helping to be healing and helping to rebuild me. My career continued to take off in positive ways and in healthy ways. And it allowed me to really just be a whole and healthy person and to genuinely love myself and to know who I am, to know what I stand for. And I really attribute that to the various ways that I took care of myself. And that's both how I took care of myself mentally and how I took care of myself spiritually, but also the basic things like buying myself a new outfit or sleeping 8 hours a day or making sure I'm eating right or doing things that I enjoy. And over time, I've been making a list of all of the things that I do to take care of myself and to practice self-care. And I just really have discovered that it's been an extremely important experience for me, and it's been life-changing for me, and I wanted to have an opportunity to share it with you all, because what you all know from me in my blog is that I never want another woman to go through some of the things that I went through, and instead I want us to leverage our power and to transform our lives from the inside out. And I really do believe that we do have that power, but it takes each of us to support the other woman in realizing her own power. So if you want to know more about how I've transformed my life via self-care and what are some things that you can do, both things that are, might cost a little bit of money, or some things that are completely free, I urge you to go out and pick up your copy of 31 Days of Self-Care. And I look forward to seeing your reviews and to see how it resonates with you. Thank you, everybody, and take care.